Welcome back to DBL, back by popular demand. Dr. Payal Kohli is back to answer your questions about the coronavirus. America is seeing an uptick in cases that we were just talking about during the break, and more of the country is shutting down. Millions of citizens being ordered to, quote, shelter in place. We talked about that earlier. Dr. Kohli, how imperative is it for the whole country to go on lockdown now?
So we're in a really difficult window right now, Jeff, and President Trump said at the press conference this morning that he has no plans to shut down the country. But hypothetically speaking, if he were to do so, that would be a form of extreme social distancing, and it would be extremely effective in blunting that curve. And we saw that picture on Daytona Beach with all the kids out.
Exactly.
And I think we're doing half social distancing right now, where we're half in and half out, and that's, unfortunately, I'm worried that that's really not going to work. Yesterday we had 1,500 new cases, 44% increase in the number of cases in the U.S. So I commend San Francisco for what they've done, which is shelter in place, because that extreme social distancing is really going to have the effect that we need.
Do you think it's a matter of time? Because I don't want to get too much on the government, but day by day it seems like they're changing their tune.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's speculation, but I agree. I think we're getting closer and closer to that point where we say, okay, let's just all hunker down and really try to get on top of this thing.
All right, let's get to some questions. Arlene asks, how long is this outbreak likely to last, and how long will these shutdowns have to go for it to really be effective?
Yeah, so another question that's really hard to know, but one thing I want to point out with the science is, remember we talked about the curve and about flattening the curve. As we flatten the curve, we actually spread out the time of the virus. So I want everybody to know that we're actually going to increase the time that the virus is here. And in our heads, there, you see that? So we're spreading out how long it's here. We're just having fewer people die, and we're having fewer cases at any given time so that our healthcare system can accommodate. But by spreading it out, we really have to prepare ourselves for a marathon, not a sprint. So in our mindset, the social distancing is not for a day or a week. It's likely for several weeks or several months. And this extreme form of social distancing, where we're shutting down the restaurants, the theaters, that may be shorter. But we're going to be doing social distancing for several months, in my opinion.
Right. So let's get to this one. Franklin, I've never heard of this one. Can ibuprofen really make the coronavirus worse?
Yeah, so that question has been coming up a lot today, actually, and that's because a study came out. It's an animal study that shows that ibuprofen increases the expression of the receptor in the lungs that the virus uses to enter your lungs. So if you have more doorways for the virus to get in, it can get in easier. Now, this is all in animals, and it's not been shown in humans. So there's actually debate amongst the experts as to whether that risk is theoretical or whether it's real. But my advice would be, if you're worried at all, then stick with Tylenol if you're having muscle aches or fevers. But for the elderly population in general, ibuprofen can cause other problems like ulcers and kidney dysfunction. So it's probably best to go with Tylenol, but that's where that comes from.
Good to know. I didn't know that one.
Well, Maggie asked, can we still go outside, and is it safe to exercise at the park? I noticed that the parks were so busy this weekend, it almost seemed like counter effective. I don't know.
Right. It's the same half social distancing.
Right.
Kids are out of school, but then they're hanging out at the park, and that's just not going to work. So the first part of that question is exercise, and I say absolutely 100% yes. In fact, I encourage people to do that because I don't want them stuck at home all day sitting on the couch. That's not good for our mental or physical health. So go out, go for a run, go for a bike ride, just maintain that social distance. Parks are a little tricky because you've got all these surfaces like plastic and metal, all these things that the kids are touching that don't get cleaned on a regular basis. So I would avoid parks for the time being, and definitely avoid touching those surfaces, and keep your kids at least 6 feet apart if you are going to have them spend any kind of time with each other.
So a lot of people, I've been hearing this a lot, for people who maybe have appointments where they're with a professional and it's just one-on-one, like hair, nails, things like that. Are we saying no to that?
We are, unfortunately. So we've really gotten to a point where we're saying essential reasons only to leave the house. And that's kind of medications, groceries, and all the non-essential things, whether it's your dental cleanings, your nail appointment, your hair appointment, all of those impact our social distancing, and they should be put off, again, for the very short term where we're doing this extreme social distancing. And then hopefully in the next few weeks we'll be in our kind of mild social distancing where we, still maintain our hygiene and those types of habits, but we don't have to cancel everything. But really the guidance has now been essential things only is what you need to leave your home for.
Erica was asking that for a friend.
I was asking it for a friend. Thank you.
A friend of mine wants to know, is it safe to go golfing?
If you're golfing if your friend, I should say, I'm sorry, is golfing alone, then yes, as long as you're handling your own clubs and your own golf balls. And
right.
Again, if you're going to the golf course, make sure you're not touching doorknobs or handles. But if you want to just go out and hit a couple of balls and you have your own balls and clubs, that's absolutely safe. It's good exercise.
I'll be sure to let my friend know.
Okay.